till the lights go down, 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 till the lights go down, down, down. I've been feeling alright, I've been taking.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Crypto Vibes here, Austin Crypto. Bring you guys another video, and today, guys, I'm back with the Krash. Bring you guys week 5 as we take on Monochrome and his Pittsburgh Piplups this week for sure. And I'll be sure to leave down his link in the description below, as well as all the other coaches like I usually do. So be sure to check them out. And yeah, go ahead and go into his team real quick. He's got the Victini, Nidoqueen, Klefki, Porygon 2, Silvally, Serena, Druddigon, Raichu, Machoke, Pricktoon. So 2 meme picks there, which is pretty cool on his part. 2 mons you definitely don't see at all. Or, you know, if you see him a little bit, you don't really see him much. And then he's got the Mega Sharpedo with the ICMZ. He used to have the Manaphy, which is probably why the ICMZ at first, because like now I look at it, his team doesn't really utilize the ICMZ as well as it could. Nidoqueen already functions better with like Life Orb, Sheer Force, Life Orb. Victini, I guess, could use it with Glaciate. Porygon 2 could use it, I guess, but you feel that's way more necessary. And then like you look at the rest of the team, like ICM doesn't really look too big of a threat against me. Potentially could do something on it for his Victini against my Garchomp if they is worried about that. But that's like the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, I'm not really too worried about ICM. And then looking at his team, he's got a couple threats. Like Victini is something pretty annoying to switch into. Nidoqueen's probably the biggest threat for my team just because of its natural coverage overall. But overall, I think I have the best possible build of a team to be able to deal with it. So it's pretty good. Actually, besides Nidoqueen, I guess his defensive, or a couple of these defensive niches on his team, like Klefki and Porygon 2, are pretty annoying. So I definitely want to prep appropriately for those. So yeah, anyways, a couple things on my team immediately that I notice. I guess I'll just get into my Milotic right away, as we are bringing a Leftovers Milotic. I think first time actually we're bringing Leftovers. We brought Flame Orb almost every single week, as we're bringing Leftovers this time around, so hopefully we don't get Toxic immediately, as we're not running a Flame Orb this time. So we got Scald, Mirror Coat, Recover, and Dragon Tail. Now we have the Mirror Coat here for things like the Raichu, which actually Raichu is another thing that's pretty annoying for my team to switch around into. So I have a ton of Spadef on this set, and if I'm ever in a scenario where I can't really afford to switch out, my Milotic's already at a good health, I will click Recover, or I could click Recover, but also Mirror Coat just kills the Raichu. And depending on what he brings, I can potentially recover back up eventually anyways with that, and that's a good idea in my opinion. We have the Dragon Tail here. What's the Dragon Tail for? I built this team a while back ago, but I'm trying to remember what the Dragon Tail's for. Got the Dragon Tail there. I believe it's just to phase things around after rocks, because I really didn't have the last move I wanted to throw on here. It could have been Toxic, but I have a couple of ways to get things Toxic, and I'll go ahead and get into my next mon, which is, and I have 8 in speed EVs to creep, anything creeping me, I believe was the idea there. And I'm just pretty much max Spadef. But getting into my next set, we are bringing in Drapion right here. Which is I'm pretty happy with this set. It's a pretty good set against, in my opinion. It's a Sugar Berry set with Toxic Spikes, Earthquake, Poison Jab, and Brick Break. Adamant with enough speed to outspeed a timid, like a timid Life Orb, a modest Life Orb, Sheer Force, Nidoqueen, or whatever. If you bring Scarf, it is what it is. I do have Shoka, so I can take a hit anyways, and I'll be able to scout that appropriately if he is Scarfed. But T-Spikes are there just because they're really nice at wearing down some of the things on his team, like Porygon 2. If I can get 2 layers of T-Spikes up for that, that'd be amazing. Even 1, I guess, would be good. Things like Silvally, depending on the type, that'd be great to poison. Even things like Serena, even Raichu and Victini, just like taking away some of their health with the T-Spikes are very nice this match for me, I feel like. And if I'm ever in a 1v1 scenario with Nidoqueen anyways, I feel like I'm just going to click Earthquake, just because I can 2-shot most variants of it unless it's Shoka as well. And I will be able to scout out from faster, not than it. And if he is faster, then that means he's Scarfed, and I do have appropriate switch-ins to Earth Powers and whatnot, so he probably can 2-shot me with things like Ice Beam, probably. I think that 2-shots me, but he'd be more inclined to go for the Earth Power, in my opinion, in that scenario. But if he doesn't, then I can obviously switch appropriately to it, so that's the idea with that. I'm running a little bit of bulk investment in this set with Spadef. I believe that allows me to take the what does that allow me to take? That actually might allow me to take 2 Ice Beams from a timid Choice Scarf Nidoqueen. I think that's actually what my idea was there. And then the coverage right here, you can see Earthquake actually hits his team really nicely. Poison Jab's there for the Serena in case it wants to try to spin away. The T-Spikes, it's not going to be able to spin over free. And then we have Brick Break right there in case his Klefki brings dual screens, which I definitely don't want to deal with. And if his Magnet Rise Klefki, which I do expect if he brings it, then at least I can wear it down over time with that Brick Break. And I do have appropriate switch-ins to it, at least a couple, and I feel I can deal with it pretty decently. Speaking of that, we have our next mon on the team. We have Raikou, our Simba right here. As Raikou originally I didn't have on the team just because I figured he has a Nidoqueen, which kind of shuts us down for the most part, but looking at it, I really wanted a couple of, well, I'll kind of explain why I like the Raikou here. First off, the Raikou outspeeds his, what is that speed creep for? It's for 339 speed, I believe. Whatever mon that is. Crap, Raichu? Is it for Raichu? No, it's Mega Sharpedo, my bad. Yeah, we're creeping Mega Sharpedo just so we can outspeed that for sure, because I need a way of revenging that just because Mega Sharpedo is a huge threat against my team. And I don't really have the best switch-ins to it. So I definitely want to pack the Raikou this week just because it can revenge that. That's the main job for it, but it also has a couple of cool niches. I have it EV'd with enough HP investment to take a non-invested Dazzling Gleam from Klefki behind a sub, which means I can take one behind a sub and essentially take two before he breaks it, which is really nice. And if I can set up a sub on something like a Sharpedo, if he ever wants to save it, he has an easy switch in something like Nidoqueen. And if that's a scenario where I'm behind a sub and Nidoqueen comes out, then he's going to want to break my sub with most likely the ground move. And if he goes before me, I'm going to know he's Scarfed, and if he does not, then I can two-shot him with the extra sensory, and he would just have to play around with it at that point. Subtoxic's very good for the Porygon 2 as well. He can break my sub with something like a Tri-Attack, but Ice Beam does not. And we can also wear things down like Klefki with Sub Thunderbolt, which is really good. I was really considering running Magnet Rest on this set just for the Nidoqueen, but I needed this move coverage in general just to be able to deal with the majority of his team. And this set should be pretty good against him with leftovers for our longevity on health, so pretty cool set against him. I think it's going to be a fun mon to use. And getting around to our next mon right here, we have our Torrentee with Hurricane, Defog, Heatwave, and Knockoff. Now, we are bringing Defog because he does have the potential webs on the Kricketune, which is something I'm going to be a little worried about because he does have two Memon, so I'm thinking he's not afraid to bring them, so it could be something he wants to do. And considering I have things like Raikou, Garchomp, and Drapion, which he might want to get sticky webs up for potential things like Mega Sharpedo to really go in against my team, which makes a lot of sense if he does want to do that. And then Life Orb Tornadus just really does a good job against his team. It's another way of revenging a Mega Sharpedo. If he doesn't have any bulk investment, Hurricane can kill. Obviously, if I have to click Hurricane, that is. Heatwave is there because it hits things like the Klefki and really wears it down over time. I have a good amount of HP investment so I can take hits from it. If he has Thunder Wave, a little bit annoying because I lose one of my ways of revenge killing the Sharpedo. But it is what it is, and also this mon pressures his Serena a lot if he wants to spin, and he doesn't really have the greatest switch-ins to Hurricanes, depending on what he has. I mean, he has Porygon 2, but I have the knockoff there, as you can see, which is really nice for us. And we're running enough speed for his Raichu, which is the idea there. So, and I believe knockoff does about 50% to his Raichu, so if we figure out he's not Scarfed at any point, we can knock it out with the knockoff, which is pretty nice. Even though Heatwave might do close to him out. I think knockoff... no, Heatwave does more. What am I saying? I'm thinking of a low on Raichu. Yeah, Heatwave does more, so if we can get down to about half health, I believe, and then we figure out he's not Scarfed, we can knock him out with the Heatwave. Even if he is Scarfed, I believe we take a Thunderbolt anyways, but it depends on the kind of health we're at, so that's something to keep in mind. So that's our Tornadus, and I think we had a set amount of HP for something. What was this for? I think it was to actually take a Thunderbolt from the Scarfed Raichu. That might have been it. I'm not sure. Or it might have been like an Ice Beam from a Nidoqueen. I'm not sure on that, but we do have the investment there for a reason. Getting into our next one, we have our Yachi Berry Garchomp with Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Swords Dance, and Fire Fang. Really my best response to Victini, which isn't a great one, but it's something. Yachi Berry is there for the Glaciate, which I definitely think he'll bring. I'm not sure if it'll be special or physical or mixed. I'm kind of leaning towards mixed just because V-Create can hit things really hard. I know obviously Blue Ferret can too, but if things like Milotic want to come in, he just wants to get some nice damage off, and I am a spit off Milotic, so V-Create will be doing a decent amount to me, and if I'm in a position where I need to just click Recover, he can make an offensive switch off of that, so that's something I need to keep in mind. So Garchomp's really my best switch into the Victini. If I'm ever in with Garchomp and I still have my Yachi Berry intact against the Victini, I'll most of the time click Earthquake, because if you look at his team, he actually doesn't have a ground immunity. Besides like Magnet Rise Klefki, which might come, but that's not a switch in obviously because he has to Magnet Rise the next turn. And then Serena is his only resistance. And as you can see, we have the SD plus Fire Fang. SD plus Fire Fang is really nice, or SD plus Earthquake in general. Just because if I can get SD up, this mon really just starts breaking holes through his team. We also have Stealth Rocks here, which is very important too for things like Victini, so I can't just switch in over and over against my team. As we do have a couple ways to revenge Victini. Even if it is Scarfed. Or actually if it's Scarfed, we really only have one way to revenge it. Just because I don't have a Scarf for this week. But yeah, that's mainly the Garchomp's idea, or the main idea behind the Garchomp. Deal with the Victini, potentially get rocks up if necessary, which I definitely think it will be necessary, so that's the idea behind that. We're enough speed, same speed as our Drapion, as you can see, 277 to outspeed a timid Nidoqueen. which definitely could be the offense. I think offensive Nidoqueen makes a lot of sense against me just because its coverage is really good. And if I didn't mention already, Milotic is my main response to that, just being able to take any hit very nicely. Even 2 Thunderbolts from a modest Sheer Force Life Orb set, which is really, really good. But yeah, getting to our last mon, we have our Mega Mawile right here, and this mon is really, really nice against him. If I can play it right, just 4 attacks Mega Mawile with Play Rough, Sucker Punch, Knockoff, and Iron Head. Play Rough hits everything really, really hard outside of the Klefki does about 30% too, but I have Iron Head for Iron Head after. I can just Play Rough and Iron Head and that kills it, which is really good. Things like Victini might have to make offensive switch-ins to this, but I do have Sucker Punch on deck. He definitely could be running Will-O-Wisp on his Victini, which is something I need to be worried about, because if he expects Sucker Punch, he could Will-O-Wisp me and then play around my attacks, which is definitely something I could expect. Or even Sub, which could be a good cool bring. We're packing the Knockoff as well for things like Porygon 2, because depending on the EV spread, Knockoff and the Play Rough has a chance to kill Porygon 2, which is actually insane. If rocks are up, then we have a very good chance to. And then Iron Head basically hits the Klefki the hardest out of my moves, which is why I mainly have that there. And like outside of that, Play Rough just he doesn't have switch-ins to it, so that's the idea behind that. We're running enough speed for a min speed Porygon 2 as well, because Mega Mawile is very slow. And then otherwise we have a ton of bulk, just because most of the time you can afford to build Mega Mawile, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the for that. And I'm going to go ahead and do a quick cut and get into the battle. Alright guys, we are back with the battle up against Monochrome, and as you can see, he did elect to bring the Victini, Sharpedo, Kricketune, Silvally, Raichu, and Nidoqueen. Now immediately, I didn't really expect the Silvally as much, and I didn't really expect the Kricketune, I just prepped for it just because it's there. I definitely expected in those middle 2 spots to be the Klefki and Porygon 2, just because his team looks super offensive, and things like Garchomp is looking really, really solid this game, as well as Life Orb Tornadus. So, yeah, immediately hits the Kricketune, so I'm kind of expecting him to potentially be a web set and immediately set those up. So I'm just going to my Garchomp immediately, just because Garchomp can really just put in a lot of damage, and it also can get rocks up for him immediately. And it also doesn't just lose to Victini. So that's my idea with the lead right here, is we lead Garchomp. He's going to lead with the Raichu. Now right away, I have really no reason to not go for Earthquake. If he's still volley flying, I'll find out if I go for Earthquake right here. But I have my Yoshi Berry intact. I can take any from this Raichu and pretty much knock it out with Earthquake, as long as he's not Shuka or Focus Sash. If he's Shuka, I still do like 80%, but you're going to see Hidden Power Ice does very, very little to me, and then I'm going to do a Revenge right here with an Earthquake. So great turn 1 right there, and he's going to bring out the Kricketune. I'm going to go for the Fire Fang because it is a roll to kill it. It's not a good roll in my favor, so I expect it to do somewhere around this damage, as you can see, 95%. And he is going to go straight for Sticky Webs. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to go right into my Tornadus, because I want to be able to get these webs off immediately as he goes into his Silvally, and immediately shows me that he has Ghost Silvally. So we get rid of the webs right there with the Defog, as he goes right for the Toxic, which isn't too big of a problem, just because my Tornadus isn't really meant to stay around too much. I mean, it has regen and everything too, so really just did the job there, getting rid of the hazards. Now at this point, he really doesn't have a Hurricane switch in either. If this is just max HP, then Hurricane still does close to half, which is very good. And that's exactly what we're going to do right here. We're going to fire for Hurricane as we do land, and we get 57% up, which means he doesn't really have any bulk investment at all, if I'm remembering correctly, as he parting shots out right here into the Victini. So going to go right into my Garchomp. If he wants to predict and click an Ice move right here, which actually wouldn't be too bad of a play anyways, considering Tornadus was in. So I don't know if going hard Garchomp was my play right there. Probably should have went like Milotic and then pivoted into Garchomp on a potential electric move. So yeah, that was kind of a misplay on my part. But he goes right for the Substitute right here, and I'm pretty glad I went into Garchomp here instead of Milotic anyways now, because if I went to Milotic, I would have had to break the sub, but then taking a huge Bolt Strike or Fusion Flare. And I need my Milotic healthy for the Nidoqueen, so he's going to go for sub right here, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to go for the EQ, as actually, yeah, this is an interesting point in the game. I actually stay in right here. I don't know if it was my best play or not, because he could knock me out with Glaciate if he's faster than me, and I'm not running that much speed, so if he's like max speed, he can just outspeed me right here and kill me. But I actually reveal to be faster, as he's just like a max HP variant Victini or something, but luckily we do break his sub and we were faster, but he knocks me out with the Glaciate, so it doesn't put me in the greatest position. And right here, I can go to my Drapion. T-Spikes aren't looking as great as they potentially could have been for things like the Porygon 2, which didn't come. And he does have the Nidoqueen in the back to potentially soak those up as well. So I'm going to go right into my Drapion right here and actually use it just to weaken this Victini. I know that my Drapion can outspeed it because my Garchomp and Drapion are on the same speed creep. And I just want to weaken this with Earthquake. I know it probably won't kill considering he's like max HP, but he has no switch-ins to Earthquake anyways as well. Silvally is already very weakened, and that would be really the only thing that wants to come in on Earthquake in my opinion. But he also could stack the Cricketune, but I'm going to go for Earthquake right here. It does about 54%, which is good damage, and he goes right for the Blue Flare, which I knew I could live any one hit from this thing, especially after seeing Leftovers. So, but that did a little bit more than I always wanted to, so a little bit annoying right there. That Drapion's pretty much going to go down to the Victini single-handedly, but I mean, I can knock it out right here, so... right here, I go for the Earthquake again. I guess I could have set up a T-Spike, but like I said, he has the Nidoqueen in the back, so it wasn't the biggest deal. He just sacks off Cricketune, so nice play on his part, and he's going to be able to go to his Sharpedo and revenge me right here. No real reason to keep my Drapion around. Like, it can revenge the Victini at this point, but knowing that it's slower than it is right now, I know that things like my Tornadus and Raikou can both revenge it anyways. As I'm actually going to go to my Raikou right here, and I figure this is a really good opportunity for me to just click Substitute right here. Even if he stays in, I can substitute and then see what he wants to do. He can't set up or anything, which is good. And he obviously can't get the speed boost because it is Mega first turn, which is nice for me. So even if he stays in right here, I can just sub, see if he does want to stay in, and then Thunderbolt the next turn, knock him out. But I do expect him to fully go into Nidoqueen, so I can just sub right here. And he's going to go right into Nidoqueen, which is good for me. And if he reveals, like, I expect him to go for Earth Power right here over anything, if he goes for anything. And if he reveals to be faster than me right here, he is Choice Scarf, and I can pivot into something like my Tornadus or even my Milotic, which is really good information to note. And I will be able to get up a chunk of health on him with the extra sensory. And right here, you're going to see that he goes for the Earth Power, so he is Choice Scarf Nidoqueen, and we get to go for the Earth Power, or not Earth Power, but we get to go for an extra sensory, get a huge chunk off on him. Stumble my words, but yeah. After seeing that, I believe I actually lived in Earth Power from here. I actually don't remember if I lived in Earth Power here, but anyways, I went into my Tornadus as he actually goes into his Victini, I guess pretty much sacking it off. To keep his Queen around, which is smart because it is Scarfed, and it's his only way of really dealing with Tornadus at this point. As he sacks Victini, and he's going to bring in his Nidoqueen again. So I actually could have knocked him out right there with Heat Wave, but like he could have knocked me out right there, so I need to keep Torn around. Just because it can revenge the Sharpedo at this point. If I mean, Raikou and Tornadus can both revenge the Mega Sharpedo. So that's something I need to keep those two mons healthy at least. So I go into my Milotic right here because I can take any hit. As you can see, Earth Power does very little to me, and I can just fire a Scald right here. As he's going to go into his Silvally right here, I guess sacking off at this point, as one more Scald will knock him out. And right here, he's actually going to reveal the Tailwind. So I got a little bit like, I wasn't too nervous at this point because I had still ways of revenging as long as I could wear these turns down, but his Crunch does an absolute, like it does like almost 70% to my Milotic set if he's max attack Jolly. I expect him to be Jolly just so he can outspeed my Garchomp, which is something I definitely expect. So even with him being Jolly max attack, it still is about 70 with the Crunch. So definitely not something I'm comfortable taking right here, especially because I want to keep my Milotic healthy for the Nidoqueen in the back, but I figured it was a good idea to click Recover to stall at least one turn of the Tailwind right here, as that's what I'm going to do. He goes for the Crunch to 67%, so I'm going to Recover, and I can definitely take another one, but me realizing at this point in the game I definitely need to keep this healthy just in case the Nidoqueen potentially has a chance to sweep. With something like Ice Beam potentially, but I do have the Mega Ball Wild, but something like Ice Beam or something like a, I guess, like Flamethrower, maybe Fire Blast, something like that. I don't know if it gets Fire Blast, but Flamethrower potentially. I gotta be careful about that, even though Raikou's out of range from that and Tornadus, but I just want to keep my Milotic healthy essentially. And I'm pretty much gonna sack my Mega Ball Wall right here. And I didn't mention this in the team builder, but my Mega Ball Wall is actually Hyper Cutter. What you're gonna see, Crunch still does a chunk to me. And if I was Intimidate right here, I could live any second hit from this Mega Sharpedo just because I got the Intimidate drop on it, and my Mega Ball Wall essentially would have been able to get a kill. Yeah, I don't think he would have risked his Nidoqueen at this point. I think he would have saved his Nidoqueen in the back, but it sucks because I was Hyper Cutter for the Parting Shot potential on Silvally, so I could switch into this a little bit easier, or if you want a Parting Shot on this anyways, so yeah, I guess I should have been Intimidate in hindsight. It gave me a little bit better answer to Mega Sharpedo considering it was such a big nuisance to my team, but he's going to knock me out right there with the Earthquake. I bring in Tornadus right here. I didn't bring in Raikou because it would have put me in a lot of 50-50s positions with the Nidoqueen, considering that let me go back a turn. Considering if I go into my Nidoqueen, or if I go to my Raikou, I could either click Thunderbolt and knock this out. I could click Sub on his switch into Nidoqueen, or I'm not going to click Extra Sensory in front of this. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm either clicking Sub or Thunderbolt with my Raikou. And if he goes into Nidoqueen on my Raikou, he would have to lock himself into Earth Power to kill me, which means I guess I could go into Torn at that point and then click Earth and then could click Hurricane, but I just felt like going to Torn right here was a better play, as I pretty much forced myself to hit a Hurricane right here. I can live one hit from this thing, so I guess I have two chances to hit Hurricanes, but I'm going to hit the first one, as you can see, and knock out the Sharpedo. And at this point, the Nidoqueen is in range of a Heat Wave, but definitely should have switched out to my Milotic right here. I guess if he went for... Yeah, I probably shouldn't switch out to my melodic right here, because if he went for Ice Beam, I believe he knocked me out right here. But he actually goes for Sludge Wave just because it's the strongest move to potentially sweep me with. But I'm going to knock him out right here with the Heat Wave as Torn picks up 3 kills this game. Looking pretty solid. And we pick up a win right here and improve to 4-1 for the season. So not bad. And good game to Mono. Be sure to check him out for sure. Check out his channel. I'll leave his description down below, like I said. And that's pretty much it for me, guys. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if new. Really would appreciate it, guys. And that's it. Peace.